Okay, everyone. I know it's going to take a second or two for everyone to join in, but I would like to introduce myself. My name is Sam Rosenfeld. I'm a lower school technology teacher at Greenwich Country Day School in Greenwich, Connecticut, in the United States. I teach alongside Jennifer Krajewski, and I'm also a certified Google Education trainer and Google Educator. Today's presentation is going to be about getting the most out of Google Calendar. And if you would like to follow along with us, this presentation, the link to this presentation is available on the page of the event. So I posted it over here. The link is also over here. And if you want to follow along with us, the address is right here, if you can see it. So there are 3 locations where you can find it. If you're watching this on YouTube, the link will be in the description of the video. So first off, I just wanted to thank everyone for joining me today. It's always great to see that Google Plus is an ever-growing community of educators from around the country and the world. And I wanted to thank some of the people from countries far away from here who are able to join us today. And it's a real honor to be able to share these things with you, and I hope that we can continue our collaboration and really learn how to use these tools to the fullest and connect our classrooms in a way that benefits all of our students. I wanted to teach you about how to use this Hangout to the fullest. There are a number of different features enabled in this Hangout. So there's a chat feature on the left-hand side, and I'm going to post a chat message in here that just says test message. And I would love it if everyone was talking on that chat message while this presentation was happening. I want everyone to get to know each other, to get to ask each other questions about how you use things, how you use calendars specifically in your classrooms. And the other application inside of this Hangout that I'd like everyone to try using is the Q&A app. If you click on the side of your Hangout window, you'll see the Q&A app on the left-hand side, and you click there. You might need to install it, but it allows you to ask me questions while this presentation is going on. So if you were in the last presentation I was doing, you'll know that the structure will be I'll give the presentation first, and then afterward I'll answer any questions that people have posted over here. So while this presentation is happening, even if you have a question right now, go ahead and write it down and post it here. And you can also plus one people's comments and questions to raise them up higher, so I answer them either first or higher up on the list. So why would we use Google Calendars rather than, let's say, for example, we use Finalsite. So Finalsite comes with its own calendar application. Why would we use Google Calendars instead of the Finalsite calendar system? Well, I've made a very short list here, but it could go a lot longer. You can organize your work and personal schedules without sacrificing privacy. I can look at my work calendar, I can look at my overall school calendar, and I can look at my own personal calendar on every device I have without any of them crossing over. And I can change all of the permission levels so that if I have a classroom, like for example I work in the computer lab, if I have a classroom that people need to come in and use a lot, they can use that calendar to stay on top of their own schedule. Without it affecting my own personal calendar. So if I were using any other calendar system, it might get really confusing to try and manage all these different shared and not shared calendars, and where are they, and which ones am I using right now, and can people see my personal calendar right now. This system, using Google Calendars, makes that so much easier. I see somebody mentioning in the questions here that they have no screen available. Let me see. I'm going to change this so that you can all see me. Hello, everyone. let's see. If I turn the camera off and I turn on screen share, does that fix the problem? Let's see. Can someone mention in the chat if that changes at all? I'm going to keep going because in my window it looks as if it's working, but if multiple people are having that problem, then I can stop and try and reset something here. So anyway, let me keep going. I just don't want to have any technical issues at the moment. Okay. So another reason you might want to use Google Calendars is because it syncs across mobile and desktop devices. Like I was saying before, not only can I manage my personal and work calendars really easily with Google Calendars, I can also make changes on any device and it gets updated really easily. I don't have to press sync now. I don't have to make any changes to the way that I'm working. Oh, great. Okay, so someone said they can see me in my screen. It would be great if I see Mikkel Goosens. Thank you for joining us today. I apologize if I pronounced your name wrong. If you could just let me know if you do see my screen now. Yeah. Okay. Everyone can see it. Great. Thank you. All right. So anyway, so it syncs across mobile and desktop devices without you having to sync. So you can create an appointment schedule with reserved time slots. Many people don't know about this. There's something called appointment slots, which I'm going to get to today, which lets you create a calendar that you can share with Gmail or non-Gmail users, whoever you want, and they can actually book times in your calendar that that makes things like parent-teacher conferences or open office hours so easy. You know, I find that a lot of people who want to open up their offices or create calendars for things like parent-teacher conferences have a lot of trouble managing between a paper system and a and their online calendar because they have to maintain both, and a lot of emails get exchanged. If you use Google Calendars correctly, that really will never be a problem for you. This is one of the most powerful features, and we'll spend some time on it today. Also, in addition to that, you can add resources to events. You can actually attach documents, videos, things like that directly inside of an event. So on top of having office hours available in appointment slots, if you share a calendar with your students or with your parents in your classroom, you can attach things like permission slips or attach things like assignments right into the event. So when they look at the event, they don't have to ask you, oh, I don't have the permission slip for this field trip. They'll look at the event and see the attachment and be able to download it from anywhere. They could look at it on their mobile device if they wanted to. And that's an incredibly powerful feature of using Google Calendar. And that feature is not available in really any other format. The last one that I'm mentioning here is embedding calendars directly into Google Sites. You can also embed Google Calendars into other types of websites. So if you're using Google Calendars and you like the way you've structured your calendar, it's really quite simple to embed it directly into a Google site. And we'll get to that later on too. So this one, for those of us who use Google Calendars all the time, where is your Google Calendar? How do you access that? You just click the 9 dots right up at the top of your screen, and those are the Google apps. And when you click there, you should be able to see a calendar link. If you don't, that's totally fine. You can click the hyperlink in this presentation to get there. You could also just go down. You see where it says More down here? You can click there, and then you'll get another one that says Even More from Google. So let's see. If I go up here and I scroll up and press this, and I press More, something pops up that says Even More from Google. Clicking that will bring me to that page that I'm talking about. This is only if you don't have calendar. Like if I click here, I can see calendars right away. That's all you got to do is click there and you'll get to your calendars. Okay, so let's take a look at some of the things that we can do with calendars. I'm just going to go down the list. And if you have questions during this presentation, please post them right here, okay? Right inside the Q&A app so I can get right to it. So let's start with the first thing, adding an attachment. So if you want to add an attachment to an event, the first thing you want to do is make sure you're on the right calendar. So I have a calendar over here that says Band Gigs Calendar. That's not the one I'm attaching it to. Maybe I want to attach it to the computer lab schedule, right? So I can click right here, and let's say this is assignment due today. So this is an assignment that all of my students are going to have to fill out today, or are going to have to complete by today at this time. And we're assuming that this calendar is shared with all of them. And let's click Edit Event. Okay? Inside of Edit Event, you have all of your normal things to change the time and the date and whether it repeats or not. If you scroll down a little bit farther, you'll see Add Attachment. And clicking this is just like any kind of adding an attachment. You just choose what you'd like to attach. If it's from Google Drive, you can do it here. If you want to upload something, you can click Upload and just drag files right on top of this box. And you just press Select when you're ready. And now I've attached my presentation to this event down here. And that can be incredibly helpful if I need everyone in my class to finish one particular assignment and they all need the handout. I can give them a physical handout, but if they lose that handout, they can always just go to the calendar and print out a new one. Or if you want to go paperless, you can just do it right from there. The next one says Add an Available Room. What I've learned about Add an Available Room is that it's all dependent on whether or not your domain administrator has enabled this. So your domain administrator is the person who organizes all of your Gmail accounts at your school. And you'll need to talk to them if you want to use this feature. I'm going to show it to you now. This could be useful in a lot of different situations where you're trying to find a room to meet with someone. And there are rooms that are available at some times of the day and not at other times of the day, and you just want to know which ones are available. So let's say we're using the same event. I'll click Edit Event, and over here on the right-hand side, I get something that says Guests, which is how I invite people to the event, and then Rooms, etc. So I go over here to Rooms, etc. And I can filter the rooms. And then it says Show Only Available. These are the rooms that I can book right now. There are only 3 rooms available. If I uncheck this, all these red X's are rooms that are not available to me. Okay? This feature is not directly available to you. You can't just add in rooms over here. What you might want to do is if you're trying to meet with someone and book a room, you could say where and enter in the room where you're going to meet. And if it's on a public calendar, you can check to see if at that time anyone else is booked there. But even that system isn't as effective as using the rooms, etc. Feature. So after this presentation, I'm going to include a further link here. Again, you can't individually change that. It is up to your domain administrator. So if you're interested in using that feature, you should talk to them about it. And they can pretty easily set that up for you. This one, Add a Video Call, is also included in every event that you make. So let's say I make an event over here. And let's say I want to put it on my public calendar. And I'm going to say what? We'll just say this is going to be a conference call for Google Educators. If I go to Edit Event, in here it says Join Meeting Conference Call. It's actually taking the name of the event and giving a very short name to it. And if I click there, it's going to start Hangout. I don't know what this is going to look like on our thing right now, but I might pop up. Oh yeah, look at that. That's crazy. So when you save that event and you share it with people, and I apologize for the noise, there's a lawnmower outside. So when you make that event and you share it with people, they can click the event and join the call right here. And I'm not sure if you hover over it or click it. Yeah, if I click just above so if I click these words, right, and I'm the owner of the event, I go into the edit mode, so I'm changing the time and stuff. If I click above it, just inside the box, right, inside this purple box, so I click here, the video call thing pops up right there. This can be great if you're trying to get a bunch of people to meet together. You can't be physically in the same place. You want to do a video call, but no one feels totally sure of how to really find the right call, and you're trying to copy and paste links all over the place to join the call. This really just is a game changer for that. You just share this event with them, and the video call is built into the event. So, next one. This is the big one. Appointment slots. I'm going to add a note about appointment slots before we get started here. Appointment slots are only available if you have Google Apps for Business or Google Apps for Education. So I have a personal Gmail account and I have a school email account. My personal email account cannot do this. My school email account can do this, but my personal one cannot. Okay? So let's check it out. I'm now in my school email account, so this feature won't pop up if I'm using my personal one. You gotta make sure. Let's make an appointment slot over, let's skip over to next week and see what's going on. Okay, so I'm gonna click up here, and let's say I want to book a time between 7 and 8, so like before the day begins, for people to meet with me. Up here there's something that says event, and then a line, and then appointment slots in blue. Click the word appointment slots in blue and it'll switch to become an appointment slot. So I'll say what? And I'll say open office hours. Now this is very important. Choose a calendar that other people can see. If I'm on my personal GCDS calendar that is not shared with anyone, no one will be able to see my office hours. It needs to be a publicly shared calendar. Now the other options here are to offer the slots in 30-minute or intervals. You can change it to 15, 10, 5, 45, 60. You can make the event as long as you want. So I could make it from, let's say, I made it from 7 o'clock to 10 o'clock, and I could make it one single appointment slot that's 3 hours long. So you can change you can vary this. So let's see. I had this as open office hours, and I chose this calendar. Okay. When I'm ready, I can click Create Slots. If I need to edit more things and add attachments and all that, I click Edit Details. I'm going to create the slots here, and you're going to notice I chose a 1 hour period, and I made it 30-minute intervals. When I create that, and I click this, I get a totally different page. It doesn't look like a normal event, right? This page is just for you as the person who is the owner of the appointment slots. So you as a teacher make this, and then you're not going to share this part with your students. You're going to share this. So watch what happens when I click here. I get my public calendar, which, again, is now shared with people. Let me skip to the week. This is where I put them, right? I get this calendar that I can embed somewhere. Like I could put this on a website. I could share this in an email, and people will see these bubbles. And they're not the same as normal calendars. I can't click here and make an event, but I can click these office hours and change it to be my name. So someone could book it. So I could say parent 1 is going to book this slot from 7 to 7:30. Wants to work here. And when I press save, it shows up in the calendar and no one else can book it anymore. Okay? So someone else could log into this calendar and click open office hours and type in parent 2. And when they press save, they'll get this pop-up message. It says, view or edit in Google Calendar or stay here, right? If I click view or edit in Google Calendar, and I just click back and go to that date, this is me, right? I am the teacher, and I was also just playing the role of being a parent booking these hours. I can see parent 1 is coming in at 7 o'clock to 7:30, and parent 2 is coming in from 7:30 to 8 o'clock, right? As the owner of those appointment slots, I can delete them, and they can also delete the slots as well. They go to their calendar, and they click here and press delete, and it disappears from both of our calendars. I find that this makes booking these hours a lot easier. When you need to meet with 18 separate groups of parents in a 1-week period, and it's all, you know, at the end of the day here, this big blank area, you can offer those appointment slots, have people book them. You can then see more easily what your schedule is going to be like, and people won't be as pressured to find a time with you by email or by phone or in person. They'll be able to just look at it on their phone or at home, and all you have to do is just manage it from here. If I wanted to change those to 15-minute slots, that's all I do, and press save. And I should be able to make it into, oh, because those 2 times are booked, so I'll have to delete those to show you what that looks like. So that's a good point to bring up as well. Once people book those hours, you can't double book the hours, okay? So these two times have been taken. I would need to extend my open hours in order to add any more times, right? So now they're 15-minute appointment slots, but those 2 slots that were booked are still 7 to 7:30. So if I deleted those, and I would have to delete them if I wanted to change them to only 15-minute slots. It's important to know those little details when you're using these, and you definitely would want to test this out before launching it to parents and students. You want to just test out using it yourself, find out how you might best use it, but I can guarantee it will save you time in the end. Oh, find a time. This is a great one. When you create a new event, and make sure it's on a public calendar, right? Something that everyone else has access to, or you can do it as a calendar that only the person you're trying to find a time with has access to. Then you can, Google Calendars will automatically find times that you're free, okay? So you choose a calendar that only you and the other person can see, or a calendar that is publicly available. And I'll say meeting with specific person, right? And I can keep this for now on here, but you could use a more personalized calendar, right? So let's go to edit event. So I'm scheduling this meeting with a person from 8:30 to 9:30. But I don't know what time they're free. I really don't know. I can click Find a Time, and as I add guests, let's see, I'll add them over here. See what happens. Oh, good. So I can see this will get confusing because my name, it appears on both, but this is my school email account over here on the left, and this is my personal email account on the right. So if I were scheduling an appointment with someone and I needed to find, I'm free, let's say I'm free between 8 o'clock and 11 o'clock. I can make that available here, and then I can see if my personal email account has a calendar that's shared and public, I can see which times are free, and it'll automatically recommend times to me. Test this out with someone. Make a calendar and share it just with them, and put a couple events in, and drag. All you have to do is click Find a Time, and as you drag this dotted box around, and you could say maybe I'm free between, we need to meet sometime between 8 a.m. and 2 p.m. on Tuesday, you can see that. Or you can click the week button and say I'm free here. What about, can we check over here? And you can see on my so on this calendar, I can see the public events. If I were comparing multiple people with public calendars, I could see all of their events here. And I could more easily find a time to meet with them. So give this a try with people who have public calendars shared with you, or private calendars shared with you, either way. And it can be a real time saver. Instead of sending all those emails back and forth saying, oh, what time should we meet? Oh, you're free on Tuesday? Well, I'm only free Thursday between this time and that time. You could just do find a time, and everyone can put in their times, and you'll see exactly when you have just a minute to meet. Okay, let's see what's here. Tasks on Google Calendar. So you may or may not know there is something in Gmail that is called Tasks, and I'll send you a link at the end of this video to show you how to use Tasks. If you use Tasks often, you'll understand that it can be a little difficult to know when something is due by, or how long do I have to complete this task. Do I need to set an alarm for myself for this task? What some people don't know is that when you use Tasks, it creates a calendar automatically for you called Tasks. And I'm going to show that calendar over here. And over here I have a list of all the different tasks that I have to do, and I can also add new tasks. So even if you've never used Tasks before, you can just click that button and go ahead and let's add a task like meeting with so and so. We'll click this little arrow here, and let's set a due date for it. So I need to have that meeting by August 15th, and I can include some notes too. I'll say like, don't forget to bring the form to the meeting. And that's just a note for me, right? This isn't a note that's shared with so-and-so. This is just for me to remember. Okay, so now it's added to my tasks. But it's also going to appear on my calendar here, and it says meeting with so-and-so. Don't forget to bring the form to the meeting. And when I've completed that task, I can check that box, right? And you can see it gets a line goes through it here, a strike through, and a strike through here, and I get a check mark. And I can just go to Actions, Clear Completed Tasks, and it'll disappear from my task list here and from my Google Calendars. So I find that when I'm trying to stay on top of a bunch of different tasks that I really need to get done, like all these videos that I need to make for on all these random topics, I can create tasks for myself and due dates, and they'll show up in my calendar, so I know I have to do this within the week. It's on my calendar. I have a checkbox here. All I have to do is just finish that task, and I can press the checkbox, and it'll disappear. This can be really good if you have a bunch of very kind of minimal tasks you need to get done. It's actually not as good at doing sort of laundry lists of tasks. So, for example, if you want to use this for grocery shopping, let's say, and you want to make a big list of all the things you need to get, I just don't find it to be as effective as other things, like just using there's something called Keep, so keep.google.com. I'll also attach that link. That can be much better for note-taking for things like that. So let's see what else we have. Oh, embedding calendars into sites. So let's go to Google Sites for a second. You can choose to embed any calendar that you'd like into a Google site. So this is a demo site that I've built. And I'm going to click Edit on the page that I want to add a calendar to. And I'll just, let's say I wanted to add it right up top, up here. I can click Insert and go right over to Calendar. And in here, it'll show all the different calendars that I could put in. Now, you should know that if you insert a calendar that isn't publicly shared, right? So a calendar that is not publicly shared at all, then people will visit your Google site and not be able to see the events. Only a calendar that is publicly shared can be seen in Google Sites. So let's say I chose the computer lab schedule. That one can be seen inside of GCDS, but not outside of GCDS. So anyone looking in at this site won't be able to see this calendar. Just keep that in mind when you're sharing this calendar. And for schools, usually the default setting is to not share it outside of your organization. Let's see, so you can change the height and the width of this calendar, the default view, so maybe people want to see the calendar for my computer lab week by week. Maybe they want to see it in a month view or agenda view. That's helpful for me. And you can change all these, change the title. You press save, and then you get this box. You have to press save at the top of the page. And you'll see there's an agenda here. Now, we're in the middle of the summer, so nothing's showing up. But let me go back to June, and you'll see here's our schedule. You know, I can scroll right through. I can change it to month view and go backwards. I can change it to week view. This can be great for sharing. If you have a classroom site and your parents are already used to looking on a Google site for this information, you can make their lives a lot easier when they're trying to keep track of when is that field trip, when is this due, when do my kids have to bring that into school. It can even be helpful for faculty if your faculty are all used to checking a certain site to see if there's a meeting, if there's a regular meeting that you have to go to, what's the topic of that meeting, when is it, where is it. You can embed that calendar in seconds on a Google site. If you want to share it on something other than that, you can click the arrow next to it in Calendars and go to Share this calendar. And let's see where we can go. We go to Calendar Details, and I scroll down. Here we go. You can grab the HTML, or you can grab the embed code, right? So many websites, including Google Sites, have something called an HTML box. So I'm going to get rid of the calendar on this page right now. So in Google Sites, you would go to Insert HTML box. Depending on what service you're using, you can do this in a number of different ways. Some things like Blogger, I think, just have an HTML view. You just click that, and you go back to your calendar, and you copy this thing. Or if you wanted to, you could click the HTML button and copy this thing. And you paste it in here, and you'll get the same effect. You see how it's really long code. Okay, so once you do that, you click Save, and you'll get the calendar there as well. You may need to look into, depending on what service you're using, you'll need to look at the differences in how things can be embedded in your calendars. One last thing, customizing default settings for calendars, right? When you're in Calendar View, you just go right up to the gear box, go to the settings, and if you look down here, you know how every time you click on the calendar, it like automatically makes something an hour long? You can change it to automatically make them 15 minutes long, or automatically make them 2 hours, whatever you want. Speedy meetings are interesting. I actually haven't really seen that before. Encourage meeting efficiency and get to your next meeting on time. 30-minute meetings end 5 minutes early. 1-hour meetings end 10 minutes early. That's pretty early. I don't know. I haven't used that before. Let me know if you have used that and whether it's helpful for you. You can change when the week starts on. So for a lot of people, having the calendar start on Monday is a really helpful thing to do. This work hours thing, this is helpful. Remember when I was talking about find a time? if this were, if I were using the working hours thing, and people are trying to find a time with me outside of work, this would be helpful. In a school context, this can kind of be complicated because you want to meet with people during work rather than outside of work. So just be careful when you're using that. That might be more helpful if you're using it personally on your Google Calendars. This is just random changes to which events show up dimmed. You know how some events show up a little bit gray because they've already happened. You can also dim these recurring future events, like things are going to happen over and over. You can choose whether or not you want to show weekends. So on your work calendar, you might not want to do that. The default view, you can change that to day, week, month, and then you can do custom. So if you do custom, you can change it to a different view type. Depending on what your schedule is, you may benefit greatly from doing this, just changing it to a random custom view. You can show the weather. This is great in the winter. So you also need to enter your location up here before that works. So let me enter that. This can be great in the winter. We do something, we go skating every Wednesday or something like that. And we need to check the temperature because if the temperature is too low, we don't go. So if it's too hot out, then the dress code changes slightly for male teachers who wear ties. We take off our ties. So this could be helpful for just any weather-based events you have, outdoor events, things like that. Showing events you've declined, I don't know if you need to use that or not. Automatically add invitations to my calendar. I like to say yes to that because I like to know if I haven't responded to something and I check my calendar, it'll show up right there. And keyboard shortcuts, alternate calendar. Let's press save, and this changed to a 4-day view. So that might be helpful for you. I'd like to know if someone has a particular use case that's really helpful. So let me wrap up here and then get to the questions. If you want to learn how to do all these things step by step, I've made video tutorials on YouTube. So if you go to the last slide of this presentation, you can click the link here to get to that video tutorial. If you're watching this on YouTube after the event, they're all connected to the same YouTube account where this video is posted. Okay. So thank you again for watching. Let me get to some of your questions, and if you have questions, please again post them in the questions section of this Hangout. So we have a question here from Megan Biddle, and it says, "Can events added to calendars be synced with Google Classroom or the other way around?" Great question. I don't know enough about Google Classroom to know if that works, but I can get back to you on that right after this call. And if that's a really pressing question, I can do it right now, and we'll get to that. But thank you for asking. That it is a good question because Google Classroom, I was mentioning before that you can add attachments to events. If Google Classroom lets you sync calendars, then you get a really beneficial situation where the kids are using Google Classroom and it's synced right to their Google Calendar, and the attachments for those assignments are also automatically added to the calendar. So I'm going to get back to you on that at the end of this, right before we go. Thanks, Megan. Here's one from Susan Fabrizio from Connecticut. Thanks for joining us today. Is adding an appointment a link that is clearly labeled, or is it the same as events? Adding an appointment link. I think what you're asking, and please correct me if I'm wrong. If I create an appointment, so actually let me go back to the one that I created before. So this one, is it a link that is clearly demarked? This is the link. You know, they show it pretty in pretty bold letters, and that's what you have to share with people. You have to share that bold link with people, and be aware that all the other things on my public calendar, if I make that event in my public calendar, they'll show up here if I share that link. So basically, it's sharing my calendar with someone else, but in a view mode, and the only things that they're able to edit are the appointment slots. So I would say play around with it. Make a new calendar for those appointments. Rather than add them to a public calendar, I would just make a new calendar and call it open office hours, and then make the events in there. Also notice that the weather, I checked off the weather thing, and there's a forecast available on Monday, and it'll show me this, and I can even click more details. Well, I guess there aren't that many details here, but it does tell me the high and the low temperature. So that's pretty cool. Okay. So let's get to another one. Okay, another one from Megan Biddle. Do you get notifications if someone signs up or deletes a slot they signed up for? I believe that you do. Let me take a look at that. If you click in here, are there any Are there anything that shows alerts? Maybe I have to, if I made a separate calendar. I'm thinking about this as a, here we go, reminders and notifications. Okay, what you'll want to do, if you do want to receive an alert when someone books an open office hour, what you'll want to do is create a new calendar, right? So let's create a new calendar, and we'll call this open office hours. And after I create that calendar, let's see, where did it go? There it is. Let's make a new setting in this. So I click the arrow next to it and go to Calendar Settings. And under Reminders and Notifications, I can receive an email every time someone sends an invitation to an event, or changes an event, or cancels an event, or an event response, anything like that. And I can click Save up here, and now anytime someone responds to one of the open office hours that I put on that schedule, I'm going to get an email about it. If someone books these time slots, I'm going to get an email about it. So that's the best way to do that. Thank you for asking that question, Megan. That's a great question. Let me see. Okay, so Susan is asking now, I do not have the appointment slots as I see on yours. Make sure that you're logged in with your school email account, and if you are, I would say contact your domain administrator, because it's possible that this is a feature that can be enabled or disabled from their end, and it's probably, if you're in your school account, they might have turned it off for some reason or another. I believe that this is still a feature that is automatically included with Google Apps for Education accounts. But I have heard that it used to be available for private accounts, like for personal Gmail, and then they disabled it. So it's a little bit shaky as to whether or not this feature is accessible to everyone. It certainly seems to be accessible to everyone with Google Apps for Education, but if it's not, again, ask your domain administrator. Thanks for asking, Susan. I've got a question here, our last question, from Ryan Archer. And Ryan is joining us from California. Thank you for stopping in today, Ryan. Can I add an email to a calendar event other than using tasks? As far as I know, the answer to that is no. You cannot add an email to a calendar event other than using tasks. So there's a way, for those of you who don't know, if you're in your Gmail account and you want to create a task out of it, you can click the arrow. You can go to like more actions or something like that, and then it says add to tasks. I don't believe that you can add an email to a calendar event, and actually Google just got rid of this feature that used to be available where you could create a calendar event inside of a Gmail message, and that feature disappeared. So yeah, unfortunately, if I'm wrong, please correct me. But I'm pretty sure that that's not possible. Thanks for asking, Ryan. And Megan has another question here, and I'm also going to get back to your question about Google Classroom because I want to look that up. So, pardon me for Googling it in front of everybody on a Hangout, but that's how I solve most of those issues. So if I want to create a calendar, she's asking me if I want to create a calendar for the whole school to view, such as a computer lab, is there a way for teachers to search for it within Google Calendar? Great question. Yes. So this calendar that I have is accessible to the whole school. Underneath, so these are my calendars, right? Underneath, it says other calendars. If I made this calendar here, I made it with a special email account, so I could type in LS Lab like that, and the email address would show up right here. If I click there, that depending on whether or not their personal calendar is available to me or not, I can add it. Let me see if I just type in computer lab. Let's see, what would be the best way to do this? I know that if you, okay, so what we did when we created this calendar is I clicked here and I went to calendar settings and then share this calendar, and I didn't want to make it public because I don't want people outside of GCS to look at it. I can share this calendar with others, right? And I can check this box, share this calendar with everyone in the organization Greenwich Country Day School. And I click this arrow, and they can either see only free and busy, so that would be great if I'm using the find a time feature, and I can choose see all event details. And if I choose see all event details, then they can see who's got the room when and where and all that information. If I want to share it with specific people, let's say, so like I work with Jen, I need to share it with Jen and choose this option, make changes and manage sharing, right? I want to keep that true, and maybe I want to remove this email account from having access to the calendar in any special way beyond this. I can make those changes and then click Save. And once I do that, the calendar is not only shared with everyone, so it should show up down here for everybody else, right? And then on top of showing up down here, you'll have access to it. And if you need to change any of those settings, you can always share it here. You can go like this. You can go to calendar details, and you can get the HTML. This is kind of like the web address for it. You can copy and paste this into an email and share it with your colleagues like that. So those options should cover that situation. So if anyone has any other questions, please post them here. Right now what I'm going to do is I'm going to go and look to see what the settings are for Google Classroom, because that's a really new feature that most of us don't have access to or don't use, but I do want to see what the answer is to that question. So let's say, let's see, Google Classroom calendar sharing. Now I'm worried that this is going to sort of bring up, because Google Classroom calendar kind of brings up the wrong search. Google Classroom sharing calendar. Let's see if that works. No. Alright, let's just search Google Classroom. Let's click here. Get their big sales pitch for that. Let's see, classroom overview. Let's see what happens when I go here. So I have access as a student, but I don't have access as a teacher, which is what I really want to see. That's not helpful. Let's see. Let's see if I have any options in here to change. That search wasn't helpful. Let's see. My guess right now is that the answer to your question is no. Google Classroom is not yet integrated with Google Calendars. I'm going to go ahead and guess that that feature is not there. When I last saw it, Mark Beck did a great preview at our Google Educator Summit in June. He did a great preview of Google Calendar, and what I noticed was that there were very limited features and almost nothing beyond, you know, being a student. So actually, that was kind of helpful because you can see Classroom. You can see what students would see in Google Classroom, right? This is what a student sees. I can see it here. I can press this, sign out, this plus sign. I can join a class. When I go into a class, I can see the assignments, but I can't. I get no options to do anything with Google Calendar. I can email. I can write a message to the person who is the owner of the classroom, or, you know, in that case, I suppose you'd call them a teacher. Yeah, but other than that, I don't see any settings that would indicate that a student could add this to their personal Gmail calendar. Maybe what I'll do is I'll send them that feedback. And we'll say, we were hoping to get a feature that would allow students to include assignments, classroom resources, etc. to their Google calendars. Is that on the way? Okay, well anyway, we'll send that all out and we'll see what they get. We'll just submit it. Thank you for asking that question. Oh, let's see. Well, I actually, that's great, Megan. I appreciate the invite to test it out as a student. I'm actually already apparently a test student inside of this classroom, so I am seeing what a student would see. I'm not seeing what a teacher would see. If you'd like, I can invite you to this Hangout, and maybe you can do a screen share so that we can look at what you can see. So please let me know if that's. Let me see if I can invite you like this. Megan Biddle. A lot of people named Megan Biddle on Google+. If you include your email address in this Hangout, I can just add you into the call. It would be great to explore whether or not that's possible. So just add your email in, and I'll invite you to the video call, and maybe you can do a video share with us, and we'll see if we can find it. But right now, from the student perspective, you cannot do that. Maybe that will change soon. Okay, Robert Cortez has a question, and Robert, can I see? He is coming from, I think, New York, which is awesome. How you doing? So your question is, how do you find the learning curve for novices to be? I'm trying to push Google Apps for education, but there's resistance by novices. That's a great question, and I think it's sort of the fundamental question for all people interested in using new technologies. new technologies in the classroom. And it warrants a more in-depth discussion, and I think that if you wanted to, if anyone wanted to do a Hangout specifically on that topic, I would love to talk about that more. What I would say to you is this. People always start off as novices in technology because it changes so quickly. And it's important for all of us who may have grown up with technology or who may have been sort of on the front of the learning curve with this stuff. We need to be sympathetic with people who have not used technology as frequently in their personal lives or in their classrooms. And it's a scary experience for people who are used to being able to predict what's going to happen, to deal with something like technology which crashes all the time or just doesn't work the way it's advertised. And the best way to combat those feelings by people who want to use technology but are afraid to do so, or people who feel resistant to using technology, is to offer as much support as you can. To be as welcoming to their questions and concerns as possible, because the truth is, technology is very scary. It's very scary for people who don't know much about it. It's very scary for people who know a lot about it. I can tell you the more that I learn about technology, the more frightening it becomes to share those details with people who might be more quick to throw it all out the window because they don't trust it or they don't know how to use it. Usually it's a problem of people not knowing how to use it. So my advice is to use your talents as a teacher and as a colleague to support the basic needs that can be addressed with technology. Don't push for everyone to go onto Google Classroom right off the bat. What you want to do is start with something like Gmail, which everyone's using at your school. If you have Google Apps for Education and you have Gmail, that's what you got to start with. How do you use Gmail better? Then go to Google Calendars. Use things that are very concretely beneficial to those people. Google Drive can change the way that people share documents. It doesn't mean they have to stop using Word right off the bat. It doesn't mean they have to stop using Word at all, but remind people, if your computer is going to crash and you have it on Google Drive, you're never going to lose it. And that's great because you can take that work that you were doing at school, put it on Drive, come home, open up Drive, and keep working on it. It's a wonderful technology. So I would say the learning curve might be steep for some, but if you offer support, people really do pick it up when they feel a personal motivation and a trust in using it. So Robert, please continue to stay in touch with me. I'm more than happy to answer any other questions you might have on a specific basis. You should check out the YouTube videos I've made. They're very step-by-step, starting with the basics, how to get to everything. They're only 2 minutes long each. I like to start with small little things and then take bigger steps once people are comfortable. So thank you very much, Robert. I hope you have a great day. Okay, so I'm going to try and add in Megan Biddle to this Hangout. Let's see, Meg at, let's see. Sorry, don't want to read off your email to everybody here. Let's see. Okay, so I'm going to add this. Okay, I'm going to press the invite button. So I've invited you to the Hangout. So when you join in, we'll switch screen shares. I'm going to answer. Oh, so Ryan Archer has mentioned, like you said, there are not many features on Google Classroom. I don't see where as a teacher I can add to students. I'm assuming that's related to calendars. Thank you for adding that thought, Ryan, because I don't have teacher access, but I do know that it's really bare bones right now, Google Classroom. So Susan, not a question. We have to self-train Google Classroom ourselves this summer and be student ready by the first day of school. Okay, so are you? Sorry, if you could clarify, you have to use Google Classroom on your first day of school. I don't I don't know if Google Classroom is accessible to so many people. Like actually physically have access to it. So that might be tough. Thomas McDaniel, thank you very much for joining us. I see that you're signing off.
Ready by the first day.
So Megan, could you mute your?
Okay, so are you
just turn off your volume, or do you have headphones? Megan, if you have headphones, just plug them in and then turn on your microphone. And if you don't, then let's use the chat feature to try and figure this out. So I'll be waiting here. So Susan is saying that she has to use Google Classroom the first day of school. I find that questionable, only because from what I've seen, it is severely limited. It's in beta form, that's why it's limited. It's not, it was designed to be a test. If you're going to use it with students, then maybe we can shift the purpose of this call once we get Megan on the call here. We can shift to talking about how to use Google Classroom, and maybe this warrants a further Hangout to talk about that. I know we are past the regular amount of time. I'm going to stay right here and wait to see if we can get some things done over here. So Megan, if you wouldn't mind, can you do a screen share from your computer, and I'll switch it over to you. Just screen share to your view of Google Classroom. So close out of any tabs that you don't want to show up, because I am recording, if that's possible. So in the meantime, so Susan, I have some. Well, we're gonna stay on that topic. I'm just gonna answer this quick thing. So Robert Cortez is mentioning it is bare bones, but it's shaping up to be an Edmodo buster if you are a GAFE school. It is in beta, but will be released to the public in the fall. So yeah, I guess it has that potential. So I'm going to switch over. So Megan, if you can switch your tab just to Google Classroom, because I don't want to, broadcast everything on your computer yet. So just switch over. It looks like you're there. So I'm gonna switch to your screen now. Okay. So everyone should be able to see Megan's screen. So Megan's showing us the teacher view on Classroom, and there's a stream and a students tab. There's an upcoming assignments tab, and it looks like there's like the title of the assignment, the date that it's due. So what I'll ask is, Megan, if you can add in, if you do add me as a student, so I'll give you my school email account to add in, and I'm going to type it into the chat here. So if you go back to the, let me just switch back to my screen so we can, there we go. Okay, so I'm giving you my email account to work with, and if you add me as a student, I'm going to try and see when you add an event and a due date if it shows up in my Google Calendar. So let's see. There we go. Oh, do I have to be one of your contacts? That's an interesting feature, actually. Okay. Oh, hold on. I'll switch out of that. Sorry. Okay. Let me just, while we're trying to figure that out, if we can do that, we'll see if we can get that displayed up here. So back to these comments about using Google Classroom to bust into the whole Edmodo space. I feel that it does have the potential, but I was under the impression that the Google Classroom was released as a beta for the reason that it's just not ready. That's so weird that it's not adding me in as a contact yet. Sorry. Um, so it just seems like even right now, as we're exploring how to do this, and Megan's trying to add me in, it just seems like it's not built as securely as a Gmail, which has, understandably has teams and teams of people working on it all the time at Google, whereas Classroom was just sort of thrown out there. There are a couple of limitations to Classroom, but I have some ideas for how you can overcome them. One of my ideas is, even if it doesn't allow you to, let me switch back to my calendar for a second. So I'm going to go here, go back to my calendar. Let's suppose that the answer to Megan's initial question is no. You cannot add an event from Google Classroom to your Google Calendar, right? So you make a due date and it doesn't show up on my personal Gmail calendar yet, okay? Here's the way around that. You can still make an event in a calendar that is shared with people. So again, maybe the open office hours calendar or something. Actually, no, that wouldn't be good. Let's change it to the computer lab schedule. And we'll say assignment. And we'll go to edit event. In the description, you can still paste a link to your Google Classroom so that everyone knows that it's due. Here's where you hand it in. And you can even add an attachment here to give them a further way to do it. I know that this is not ideal. This is not, I mean, it sort of defeats the purpose of having Google Classroom in the first place, because Google Classroom is supposed to be taking that issue off of your hands. Okay, so Megan is saying she can't add me as a student. That's fine. So Megan, what we'll do is we'll go back to your Google Classroom. Let's go back to your view of as a teacher, and let's see what we can do as far as adding an event or adding a due date, like an assignment and a due date. Yeah, okay, so Megan has just answered our question. I'm going to read this out loud. I don't think Classroom is synced with Calendar. The assignment I added as a teacher doesn't show up on my teacher calendar. So that answers our question right there. This feature is not yet built out. I'm now somewhat concerned that when you have to self-train to use Google Classroom the first day of school, like Susan, and oh, Megan, thank you so much for your help and for asking. That was a great question. And please, if you have any other questions, ask me about it. This is a really great learning opportunity for me. Now, for people like Susan, Robert, Megan, I would like to suggest that if you have to use this feature, like you absolutely have to use it, the best thing that you can do for yourself is know its limitations. So I already know that it is limited as such. This is what your student's going to see. This is it. It's going to look as bare bones as that. When I go into a classroom, it's going to look like that. There are going to be assignments, it's going to be announcements, classmates. That's about it. So what you can do is know that this is right now, it's very self-contained. It does not connect with Google Calendars. It's really not so well connected with anything Google related. But it does connect with Google Drive and with YouTube. So it does create a Google Drive folder. If you're able to make a Google Calendar event, let's just go into one I already created today. You can always add an attachment from a Google Drive folder. So right now things are running a little bit slowly. I think I was sort of pushing the limits there on my internet access. Okay, let's go back and try that again. Oh, I don't know what's going on right now. Well, what you can do is add something in from Google Drive and maybe help out your students like that. Okay, so we're getting a bunch more questions here. I really appreciate all of you hanging on and asking great questions about Google Classroom. I'm going to keep going with a few others here. Well, Ryan Archer is saying, I think if students have multiple classes, in Classroom, then they will see the assignments in their classroom, not on their calendar. So that settles that. It looks like the beta version of Google Classroom needs to be integrated with Google Calendar. Will hyperlinks show up in Google Calendar? This is a question from Ian McLaren from California. How you doing, Ian? How's the weather out there? So hyperlinks will show up in Google Calendar. If you paste them into the description here, you're going to get a hyperlink. So if there's an assignment due and someone needs to visit a certain website and then read about it and write up a formulated opinion, you can just put the hyperlink right in there. So great question. And I think that's all of the questions that we have here so far. I would like to thank everyone for joining us today, for tuning in. I currently don't have another session yet scheduled, but it sounds like Google Classroom is going to be a big topic. Oh, we've got another one right here. Another one from Ian. Thanks for asking. When parents sign up using the time slots, do they need to have a Google account to sign up? No, they do not. All you need to do is share that link. So again, let's go back to that calendar. Here it is. You just share this link with people, you send it in an email to them, and they should be able to sign up right there, regardless of whether or not they have Google Calendars. So thanks again for joining. I'm going to schedule another one. Please stay tuned on Google Plus for more events and any kind of participation that you'd like to have. If you have some really interesting thoughts about Classroom specifically, since it's so new, and ways that we can all push to contact Google and get them to add these features in, I think that would be great. The more of us pushing for those features, the better, and the better the product will be. So thanks again for joining, and I'll see you soon.